Now, our guest co-host for today on the DXB Today sofa is a trailblazer in regenerative medicine and transformation, transforming the way we think about health and longevity and recovery. It's a huge honor to welcome Dr. Adeel Khan. So nice to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I want to get straight into stem cells. This is something that I've been looking into for a long time and really want to understand how it all works. And a lot of people are really interested in this subject at the moment. So tell us more about that, because I've seen you, I got first introduced to you through Tony Robbins.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I saw that and that woke me up like, wow.
Yeah. Luckily I've had a lot of high profile people, and that's what gets the conversation going. So it's like, why is like Kim Kardashian or Chris Hemsworth, some of the people I've worked with, why are they interested in this stuff, right? It makes you curious, at the very least. So there is legitimate science to it, and the reason why people are curious is because stem cells, I mean, they've been around for decades, but they never really led to the results we wanted. And they're like the repair guys in your body, right? We all have them. They go around there, they fix things, but as you get older, what happens to any carpenter if you make them work too much? They stop doing their job, right? They're just like, I'm tired. It's called stem cell exhaustion. So it's actually one of the hallmarks of aging, and then they just can't do their job effectively, and so they can't repair tissue as well. And when you have more damage than repair, that's what leads to aging, right? Your damage process is more than your repair process. When you're young, if you get a cut, you heal fast, right? When you're old, you don't heal as fast. And the big part of that is because of stem cells. So of course, naturally, there's always an interest, right? Being like, what if we can harness these repair guys and put them in your body and make you heal everything? And that's what we thought. Like in 1992, when mesenchymal stem cells, which is like the most common type of stem cell, when that was first discovered, they thought it's gonna cure everything. And then in 2006, there was another discovery in Japan called induced pluripotent stem cells, which got the Nobel Prize. And they thought that was going to cure everything, but it didn't. And the reason was because we couldn't get these stem cells to survive in the body, and we couldn't really control what happened when they go in the body. But then there was a huge breakthrough in 2010, and that was Professor Mari Dazawa, who discovered something called muse stem cells, M-U-S-E.
Yes.
And those are the ones I use for Tony and Kim and all these people, because they're special, because they survive better in the body, and they're what's called pluripotent, which means they can turn into anything. They're like little chameleons. Yeah. So if you want them to turn to heart cells, brain cells, whatever you need, they'll do. And the beauty is they survive better, and they're safe, meaning they're non-tumorigenic. They don't cause cancer, which is the risk with a lot of these other stem cells. So they have that safety profile as well, and then efficacy as well. So that was kind of the big breakthrough. But the irony, I guess, in medicine, a lot of the discoveries are by accident, right? And so it was actually an interesting story. She was going out for drinks with her friends, and then she left like this enzyme in the petri dish, and all the cells died except for this one cell. And she's like, why is it still alive? And then she discovered it's a different cell, and she named it the muse cell because SE stands for stress enduring, meaning it can survive in harsh environments. And so it was an accidental discovery. It should have probably been bigger news, but there's a lot of politics in Japan too, and people just didn't find out about it. And this other doctor named Professor Yamanaka, because he discovered another stem cell in 2006, so his work got all the credibility because he got the Nobel Prize, and he works for Altos Labs, which is with Jeff Bezos now. And then her work just never got well known. Yes. So his work kind of suppressed her work.
The politics and the legalities are really close when it comes to this particular subject as well, which is a shame, isn't it?
So I'm going to jump in and just ask, so stem cell therapy, is it suitable for everyone? Can anybody do it?
I mean, anyone who's looking to slow down aging, right? Like we always say, prevention is better than a cure. If you can slow down the aging process, then why not start when you're younger?
Right.
I'm not saying you necessarily need to start when you're like 18, but I have had some young pro athletes, for example, who do it in their 20s. Now, most of the people coming to us, of course, are usually in their 50s or 60s because they feel the effects of aging, right? They feel more tired, they feel aches and pains, their mental capacities don't work as well. So they're looking to reverse or slow down some of that. So that's for most clientele, but I mean, I do it on myself all the time, and I'm in my 30s. But I want to look young and stay young, and I want to keep this aging process at bay, and we have evidence to show that these muse cells can actually reverse and slow down aging. That's been published, and it's just becoming more and more popular for that specific reason.
Is it just for slowing down aging though? Because last year I fractured my wrist.
Yeah.
And the first thing the doctor recommended was stem cell therapy,
oh, yeah.
right? To kind of get the wrist back in tip-top shape without a need to have a surgery. So is it just for anti-aging?
No, exactly. That's the beauty of it, right? Because like we were saying earlier, these cells can turn into anything.
Right.
And they have the ability to repair any tissue in your body, including bone, cartilage, soft tissue. So we use it for orthopedics a lot. That's actually my specialty originally, sports medicine. So doing injections injections from head to toe really and fixing people for chronic pain. So that's the most common thing. But then now, if you think about it, why do people get sick in the first place, right? When they have chronic diseases, whether it's heart disease, it's Alzheimer's, or even cancer, a lot of the root causes are the same. They're called the hallmarks of aging. There's 12 of them, and stem cells happen to combat all of them.
Oh, wow.
So that's the cool thing. So that's why it can be used for like long COVID, for chronic pain, for autoimmune conditions, for orthopedic conditions. So there are so many applications, and it's not that stem cells, and I think you have to be careful because there's hype in marketing, and where some clinics are like, oh, they're going to cure you for everything, but there are specific use cases, and you have to know how to use them and use the right type. And I think stem cells kind of got a bad name because a lot of people just started going through the business of it, and they didn't really focus on the science so much, and they're just kind of focusing on, okay, how do we maximize our profits, not necessarily how do we help with the most people.
And how does this compare to gene editing? What's the difference?
So gene editing is kind of like the sci-fi thing where it's like we can take your DNA and we can actually like, imagine you take scissors, you cut it, or like rewriting like a Google Doc, we can change it and make it do something else. So that's really what gene editing is, a high level. The problem again with gene editing historically has been that it wasn't as precise as we wanted it to be. So you obviously don't want to edit something and then accidentally edit something that you don't want to, right?
Yeah.
And so, but the technology is evolving where it can get much more precise. So there's certain gene therapies, for example, that have become really popular because they can insert a very specific gene into your body, for example, to help you put on more muscle. So that's an example of a gene therapy that it will be actually available in Dubai in the next few months. It's available in other parts of the world right now, but it's called follistatin gene therapy, and it's a pretty cutting edge technology. I think these technologies will continue to evolve over time and get more sophisticated. This is just a simple version of gene therapy where we're just inserting one gene, but imagine the day where you could rewrite your whole genome to make yourself younger or like to slow down aging, right? And that's sounds like sci-fi, but I mean, there's some crazy breakthroughs happening. Like in China, they created these rice that they were able to flip like one of the chromosomes and essentially switch edit the genome to be able to make them resistant to herbicide. So now you have rice that are gene edited to be resistant to herbicide. So how cool is that? Imagine if you can make your body resistant to like stress or something, like in humans, there's so many cool applications you could do.
Amazing. Wow. Quickly, how do you think you can optimize your health at any age? If you don't have access to stem cells.
Yeah, like regenerative medicine is kind of, I always say, like the cherry on top. And so the foundational stuff at the end of the day is just learning the foundational stuff is basically learning the basics. So, but the basics are simple, but they're confusing. Like people are confused about what to eat, right? Because there's so much information out there. People are even confused about like the exercise, what to do in that sense. So I think just simplifying the messaging and just remembering, eat minimally processed foods, eat real food, right? That's the basics, that's the foundation. Just start with that, and then once you have that mastered, then learn how to put on muscle. And because like we talked about, muscle is so protective for your body. And then learn how to get proper sleep if you're struggling with sleep. There's so many good hacks out there now to help you with sleep, whether that's blue light blockers or like the binaural beats that she was talking about to help you with the theta waves in your brain. So there's so many like tactics out there, and now with AI too, if you're struggling with something, it's so easy to just be like, hey, I'm struggling with sleep and stress. Can you give me some ideas on what I can do? And so I feel like it's pretty easy to understand those foundational things, and then from there you can always build into supplements, peptides, stem cells, and all that stuff. But exercise, sleep, and stress and nutrition, that stuff is never going to change. And I think stress management is probably one of the big ones too. And that's why I think, I talked about mindfulness being one of the most important things, because most people aren't present in their body and they need to do more inward work and not so much outward, and balance those two together.